In this video, we're going to continue on talking about this chapter on input and output. Okay, so this one in particular, we're going to talk about how we can enter some strings. So remember, strings are just collections of characters held within double quotes. Okay, so I can create a string called name here. And then I can use a cin as following. I can say cout, enter your name, and I can do a cin name. And then we can do a cout name. Okay. So as usual, I'm not putting in any comments, but you should. I'm also not giving my executable a name, but you should. Okay. So if we enter name here as Bill, Bill's fine. Okay. But if we were to enter our name as Bill Johnson, we still just get Bill, right? Because what the CN is going to do, it's going to stop when it hits the space. Okay. So if we want to be able to use the spaces, all we have to do is the following. Okay, we're going to use this function called getLine. Okay, so I can say getLine, and what it's going to do, it's going to take the input stream, which is CN in this case. Okay, and then it's going to take the variable name, which is name, where we want to store it. Okay, that's all we have to do. If we run it, file, I'm going to run it. Now if I enter Bill Johnson, you see it takes the whole thing. Okay, pretty straightforward. And the other thing that the book talks about with couts is they're used in your debugging. And you've seen me do this before. If you're not sure what's happening in your code, you can print out something to see what the value of a variable is, or to make sure you've made it to a certain part of the code. We'll talk more about that as we go. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is dealing with files. Okay. So a file is just going to be an area on the hard drive of the server, not your hard drive located on the server, that is going to, we can use to store information. Okay. So I'm going to go through the example on the student grade example, program example, end of the book, end of the chapter. If you haven't gone through these, you should. They're pretty useful. Okay. So we're going to start by creating our text file. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to go into Emacs, and I think it's called test.txt. Typically, in a Linux system, a .txt file is just a plain text file. Okay. Apparently, I already had one there with a sample file, but I'm going to change it. This one, we're going to have the name, Andrew Miller, and we're going to have some test scores, some 87.50. We have an 80, 89. We have a 65.75. We have a 37. We have a 98.50. Okay. So all we do, Control-X, Control-C, save it. Now we have that file. Okay. So now we're going to go through and we're going to have that as our input file. So we're going to read the student name and the 5 test scores. We're then going to output the student name and the 5 test scores, calculate the average, output the average. Okay, to another file, which we're going to call testaverage.out. Okay. So let's go through the steps here. Okay, so I think I'm calling this one. Oh no, I have one here. Student grade, yeah. Student grade.cpp. Okay. So the first thing we have to do when we're dealing with files, we're going to include, in addition to the IO stream, we're going to have an F stream that deals with files. And the good news is that dealing with files, it's stream based. So it looks very much like we do when we're doing with cout. So that's a good thing. Okay. So that's the first thing that we have to do. Okay. Our next step is then going to be, we're going to have to declare our variables. That's what we always do. Okay. So our variables in this case, we're going to start with, so this is new. We're going to have just like we have a CN, cout, but they're not defined for us automatically. So we're going to have this input file stream is the data type. We're going to call it in file. Okay. That's if we're bringing stuff in from the outside, we'll need an in file. And not all programs need both. And since this case, we're going to also have an output file stream. So IOF stream. Okay, we're going to call that out file. You can call them whatever you want. Okay. And this is going to be used to read in from the test.txt file. This is going to be used to write out to the test average dot out file. Okay, put some comments in just so we know what we're doing. Okay, so in addition to that, I'm going to have double test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, and test 5. Okay, set those up. I have a double for the average. Okay, we're going to have a string for the first name. Okay, we're going to have a string last name. Okay. So now we need to open the files. Okay, so if you remember back in Python, we had to open them different ways depending whether there's an input or an output. Well, here we have different streams, so it's not going to matter. Okay, so I can just say in file, which is our IF stream variable. Okay, the input file stream in file dot open. Just give it a name in quotes. Okay, I'm going to call it test.txt. And that's the file we just created. We're in the same directory, so that's okay. We can put in directories if we want to, that doesn't make things complicated. So we're not going to do that. Okay. And then our out file dot open. We're going to open it. And that was test average dot out. Okay. And there's no assumption that that's there. Okay. In fact, if we don't want to overwrite the file, we're going to have to do something kind of different. Okay. So now we're going to do some things here with the out file that we're going to create. Okay, so we're going to say out file. We want it to be fixed. Okay, it's just like we did with the strings in class today. We did the show point, which was in the book on how to do that. Okay. We're also going to do an out file with set precision to 2. Okay, so just like we did with the strings, or the stream out to the monitor, same thing out to the file. They were setting all those things up. Okay, so now we're going to give them a message so the user knows what's going on. Processing data. Okay. Now we're going to start reading from the file. Okay, assuming the file's worked. So we have our in file, and this, I knew that was wrong when I did it. This is in file. It's of type IF stream, but up here we declared it as in file. Okay, so we're going to have in file. We've opened it up. Okay, and just like the CN, we're putting in the greater than. We're going to send, this is what we're sending to it. Okay, the first thing in the file, which was the first name of the student, we're going to call first name. It's going to go up to the space. Okay, we're then going to get the last name. Okay, we have these variables defined up here as strings. We're going to pull those off the file. Okay, that's all we're going to do at first. Okay, so we've got those two in. Okay, we're now going to write those 2 bits of data to the out file. Okay, so we're going to say out file. Okay, we're going to send, so the out file comes the other way, just like CN and Cout. The out file, I'm going to say student name, colon, space, there. Okay. We're then going to say the first name string. Okay. We're then going to put a space. We're then going to say the last name string. We're going to do a new line. Okay. This isn't going to the screen. This is going to our output file. Okay. We're then going to read in the test scores. So we're going to say in file is going to get test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, and test 5. Okay. So all those come in. Okay. And then to the out file, we're going to out file the following. Okay. We're going to say test scores, space. Okay. And we're going to use the set W, okay, from earlier in the chapter, to set the width first for 6 for the test 1. Okay. Then we're going to set W for 6 again for test 2. We're going to keep doing this. Okay. So again, we're setting the width, setting up our column data. Test 3. And again, just to make it look nicer, it's lining up. Set W6. Test 4. Set W6. Test 5. And a new line character. That's going to go to the file. Okay. We have those variables. We can go ahead and do the average. The average is going to be test 1 plus test 2 plus test 3 plus test 4 plus test 5, all that divided by 5.0, since that they're doubles. Okay. I'm now going to write that to the file. I'm going to say out file, going to get the average test score, space, use a set W to 6 here as well, and then do the average, and then to NL. Okay. And that just leaves us to close the files. Okay. With the in file.close, parentheses, and the out file.close with parentheses. Okay. And after the file here, we can really say that we're processing the file since there are 2 of them. Okay, again, we're writing out, reading in, writing out. Okay. And if I've typed it all correctly, and that's a long file, so we'll see. Nope, doesn't like something. Okay, doesn't like out file. That's because I should have a capital F. That's in line 24. Also, but I didn't include IO_manip. Yeah, it's out. But I do it a bunch of times. I have to go up here. Second arrow means I need to include. Yep. Okay. See if we've got rid of the errors. Do a clear. Try it again. Like something out. Test. Oh, see, I've got a space in line 38. Okay, I'm also using average as a function, which I can't do. So let's go down to 38. You can see the counter on the bottom. Test 4 needs no space. And I should have said average equals. Okay. Got it now. Let's see. Pilot, nope, doesn't like T. Oh, there we go. Line 43. That's the typo. Come down to 43. Should have been a 6. It's close to the T. This time for sure. Okay, we've got it. Okay. So again, if we look, we can do an LL there. We can see an LL TXT and LL star TXT. We see we have this file. So we have our more test.txt, and there's the information that we have. Okay. We do an LL star out. Okay. We don't have the test average out yet. It wasn't created because the program didn't run. Okay. So I'm going to run the program again. So I didn't give it a name, so that's called data out, which you shouldn't do. Okay. Processing data, now it's done. Okay. So now if I take a look, okay, so again, I can do an LL star TXT. We just have the one file. If I do an LL star out, we now see that we do have this test average.out, right? If you do a more, or you can do Emacs if you want, text average.out, you'll see that, hey, it looks pretty good. We've got the student name, we've got the test scores, and we've got the test average. Okay. So all of that should work, should make sense. So when we're dealing with files, let's go back and look at our code here again. So again, we're including the F stream, and that's kind of hard to read, but F stream is what we're including. It's like the IO stream, that didn't help at all. Okay. To use the files. And in this case, we're using the IO manip because we can use all the same tools we've used before. Okay. We're first declaring the variables where with CNC out, they're already built in for us, but with these, we have to create them. So we're creating an IF stream called in file, an OF stream called out file. Okay. For reading in, writing out. Okay. Let me fix my spelling error there, which wouldn't have mattered. Then I'm going to create variables for the double for test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5, another one for average, a string for first name, string for last name. Again, I created the text file first in Emacs with the .txt file. Okay. So I'm opening the file, opening both files. Okay. I'm then starting writing out to the output file by making sure that it's fixed. It's showing the decimal point, even if there's nothing on the left, and I'm setting precision to 2. Okay, I'm then couting processing data to the screen. Okay, we're not to the out file. Okay, so the in file looks like CN, so I'm going to use the extraction operator there to get the first name and then the last name, the first 2 things we put into our file. Okay, I'm then going to go ahead and write those out. So I'm out file gets the insertion operator, so I'm sending to the out file student name, the string student name, colon, first name space last name. Okay. I'm then reading from the in file with the extraction operator, test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5. I'm then writing out to the file in fixed with comment using the set fixed with style using the set with. Okay, so I've got 6 characters for each of these for all 5 of the test scores. Okay, say test scores first. Okay, I'm then calculating the average, adding all the test scores together and dividing by 5.0 because they're doubles. Okay, and then to the out file, I'm writing the average test score, set W, this average I just calculated. I'm then using the close function to close both of those files. Okay, and it doesn't do much when you run it except say processing data. If not, it wouldn't say anything because what we're doing here, reading from a file and writing to a file. Okay, so that's how you do file processing. Okay, so there'll be some examples that we'll work on in class to strengthen this, but this is the basic idea. So as always, if you have questions, make sure you let me know.